Welcome councillors and welcome gallery and media to the ordinary meeting of council on the 15th of May 2018. Members of the public gallery should note that the council records and publishes council meetings via YouTube, we've changed, to enhance the accessibility of council meetings to the broader Wellington community. These recordings are also archived and may be published on council's website for viewing by the public or used for publicity or information purposes. At the appropriate time during the meeting, members of the gallery may address the council, at which time their image, comments or submissions will be recorded. Members of the public who are not in attendance at the council meeting but who wish to communicate with council via the webcasting chat room should lodge their questions or comments early in the meeting to ensure that their submissions can be dealt with at the end of the meeting. Please could gallery visitors and councillors ensure that their mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting. Thank you. Please stand for the acknowledgement and prayer. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai-Kurno people, and pay respects to their elders past and present. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that the true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. Item A3, Declaration of Conflicts of Interest. Councillor Stevens.
Yes, Mayor, I have an indirect interest.
Microphone, please, Councillor.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Upstanding.
I need to be upstanding. I do apologise, Mayor. Yes, I have an interest in item C4.1, which is an indirect interest and a conflict of duties in one of the community grants. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a conflict of interest in regard to the same item, 5C. It's under Section 77B of the Act. It's a direct interest in due to a financial inducement.
Thank you. So noted.
Thank you.
Item A4, confirmation of minutes of previous council meeting. Councillor Bai.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I move that Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the ordinary council meeting of the 1st of May 2018.
Councillor Stevens. Is that motion opposed? The motion's not opposed. The motion is carried. Nothing to raise. Item A5, business arising from previous meetings. Nothing there. Item A6, no acceptance of late items. Item A7, notice of motion. A8, receiving petitions of joint letters. Nil there. Item A9, invite addresses, presentations and acknowledgements. Councillor McCubbin.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'd like to present to the Council on behalf of an item which was given to me in regard to the music festival, the Sale Music Festival. Sale Music Festival would like a certificate of appreciation awarded to the Wellington Shire for the contribution and ongoing support of the Sale Music Festival Picnic on the Green at the Sale Botanical Gardens on Sunday, March 11, 2018. Might I just say that the Sale Music Festival is an absolutely amazing group. It's put together by a really dedicated group of volunteers, of which David Harrington and the team run that. I can't speak any more highly of it. It's a wonderful day out for people in Sale. If you don't get a chance, come along, please. If you haven't had a chance to see it before, please come along next year and enjoy it. And I know that the Shire really does respect and enjoy being part of it, and we thank them very much for their certificate of appreciation, which I'll pass on to you, Mayor. I'll just leave it here for now.
And such a fantastic venue for it, and the staff who looked after the parks do a great job for that. Thank you. Thank you to all. Much appreciated. Moving on to item A10, questions on notice, which we don't have any. Item A11, the Mayor's report. 11A1, Councillor McCubbin.
You're with us. Thank you. I am very much with it. You're just going so quickly through it. I'm very impressed. I'd like to move the Mayor's report. I'll just move it on the screen if I can. I'd like to move that the Mayor and Council activity report be noted.
seconded by Councillor Rossetti. Is that motion opposed? The motion's unopposed. The motion is carried. Councillor McCubbin.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And look, I'd just like to pass on my thanks to you and to all of the councillors concerned to a very busy month. There were some excellent projects up there, running through them. We'd like to focus on one, if I can focus on the TAFE. Again, I know there's been much spoken about this and much written in the paper in regard to the TAFE, but I think it is worthy of mention, again, the work that was done by this council and others to ensure that the TAFE has been finally agreed to. And of course, I was very fortunate to be present there when the Minister came into town a couple of weeks ago, and I know you were there as well the day before when members of the community also celebrated this magnificent event. To actually have it locked into the budget that we would have a TAFE here built on the Greenfield site, that is amazing. And I remember as a councillor way back, and I'm sure Councillor Hull remembers, 2005, 2006, the TAFE came in here and said it's crucial that they move out of their existing facilities up the road there that wasn't providing the sorts of opportunities that our country kids needed, and that they wanted to move into a greenfield site on the netball courts. And of course, the netballers weren't too happy about that. And well, we remember, Councillor Hull, and the many meetings that we had, the discussions. I remember the Sale Memorial Hall being jam-packed with people, a parade down the street with the netballers, and all in due course, of course, we developed the Gippsland Regional Sports Complex. I remember Councillor Rossetti, actually, in his previous role with the Committee for Wellington, standing up and spearheading the Give Us 5 campaign in 2008. And looking for money to fund that reorganisation of the netballers. And whilst the netballers were front and centre in this kind of consideration, we wanted them to have the state-of-the-art facilities they now currently enjoy. The reasoning for it was because the TAFE was so important. We went through all of this pain because we knew we wanted to provide a facility for where the TAFE would ultimately move. And we know that the future since then has not been bright. There's been discussions, there's been interests in, and you and I both know, Madam Mayor, it was interesting the Minister actually referred to it, that famous day, I think about a year or so ago, when the Minister came to town, and look, I can tell you it was a little bit frosty, and the first word she said to me as she got out of the car was, "I hope you're happy now," and indeed we were, and we praised both her and Harriet Shing for their work in ensuring that this money was put into the budget. And let's understand why we're doing this. We're doing this because our kids deserve the same sorts of opportunities that kids from Melbourne get, and that is to get a first-class education. They deserve pathways from school into these areas. That's what they need. Our businesses need their skilling as well, and of course we need reasons for our young people to stay within our communities. And this is fantastic for Wellington. But let's talk about some other things that occurred too. This TAFE is what we need to be able to attract the sorts of businesses that we can get to this town. It's for our health service. Let's understand that it's about building a first-class health service relies on ensuring that we have a training facility where we can train the nurses of tomorrow. We can ensure that we have a quality health service into the future. It's like Esso, our #1 ratepayer, and indeed a business that grows jobs in this region. It ensures that they can get training for their people so that they can provide first-class employment. And indeed for us to look for business opportunities. And there's many out there that the TAFE allows us to do. For example, the Qantas pilot training. Qantas has announced that they would like to have a training facility for 500 pilots a year to be able to be trained. Now, I know there are 80 shires within Australia which are looking at this, and we're still yet to talk about it to the RAF and all this, but because we have a TAFE, we can now present and say, why can't Sale, why can't Wellington be the hub for Qantas pilot training into the future? Why can't we? And I know that we're out there fighting for this, fighting to bring this business opportunity into town. And it's an incredible long shot. It's an amazing long shot. But the TAFE makes it absolutely sure, gives us another kind of foot in the door, gives us another opportunity to be able to say, look, we can provide first-class training facilities for the future. And in regard to Qantas, okay, if you told me a week ago that an artist from Israel would win Eurovision by singing about chickens and doing a funny dance, I would have said you're joking. So maybe, this is right up there as well. We are certainly underdogs in this, but I'd like to think we can give it a red-hot go. And the TAFE is a part of that. This is what this is about. So on behalf of everybody, from the Committee of Gippsland to the many volunteers, to our local businesses, to our economic development team, to everybody that has been part of this, and to the Minister themselves, thank you, thank you, thank you. This is going to be wonderful for our Shire, both now and into the future, and make this place a great place to live, work, invest and raise a family. And play. Yes, thank you, Councillor Hull.
And now get an education.
Yes, indeed.
No, it's fantastic. Thank you very much for your heartfelt presentation. Item B, Report of Delegates. Councillor Hall on the MAV. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Just a quick report as your delegate to the Municipal Association of Victoria. Yesterday we announced the appointment of a new CEO. It's been a long time in the making. The current CEO was due to retire on the 31st of December. Replacing him proved to be a challenge, and I believe that we've come up with a person that we're all going to be very proud to work with, who's going to deliver the goods. Going to make the MAV a more exciting place, because for the first time in 139 years we've appointed a female, and she was appointed on merit, not because of her sex, and we're all looking forward to working with her. So her experience in local government is good. She was a CEO at both Wyndham and Maribyrnong, and spent about 7 years at each of those councils, re-establishing their operations. She was also, I'll have to check that so I'll get the titles right, Deputy Secretary to the Department of Transport, and currently is the acting Chief Executive at VicRoads. So we're getting someone with a lot of experience, and we look forward to an exciting future for local government.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Item C, C1.1, Chief Executive Officer Report. Councillor Stevens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll move that the Chief Executive Officer's report be received.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Ma? Is that motion opposed? The motion's not opposed. The motion is carried. Do you wish to speak? Thank you.
Yes, Mayor, I just have your indulgence just for a couple of minutes. I think it's very interesting to reflect on the CEO's report of the diverse range of activities that our CEO and senior officers become involved in, representing our council and our community. And I just went quickly through this report and just picked out a few highlights. The things that the CEO's been talking about in this last month can include regional development, state grant funding, business development, roads, citizenship ceremonies, MAV issues, recycling issues, renewable energy, and the attendance at the recent Integrity Forum, along with a few councillors, including myself. And it's just interesting to reflect on all the different aspects of life in local government. I mean, people think sometimes just we're involved in roads, rates and rubbish, but there's a whole range of activities that our council and our senior officers are involved in to get a better life. I mean, it's very hard to follow Councillor McCubbin's excitement about a number of things, but we're involved in so many different things, and people sometimes, I think, forget just what range of activities local government does. Sorry, it was just me probably preaching to the converted, but I just found that interesting.
Something like 110 services, I think.
That's something more of it, isn't it?
Thank you. Item C1.2, April 2018 Performance Report. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'm happy to move that Council receive and note the April 2018 Council Performance Report as attached.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Bai. Is that motion opposed? The motion's not opposed. The motion is carried. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, thanks again, Mayor. Look, as we get to the pointy end of the financial year, let's just take a look at where we are. And during April 2018, Council commenced direct operations of the Gippsland Regional Livestock Exchange. That's a multi-million-dollar facility that's recently been upgraded. So we'll watch with interest the ongoing success of that facility. The Prime Minister announced over $6 million in Commonwealth funding to local businesses, which will result in a total investment in excess of $13 million and support 123 local jobs. EDU Cloud is now available at the Port of Sale Precinct, with students in years 10 to 12 having access to high-speed, secured, filtered Wi-Fi. Another great achievement. The Wedge continues to provide world-class performances, and the report also details the status of a range of infrastructure projects, Mayor. So the report itself makes for great reading. If we turn briefly to the financials, we continue to run positive against the full year forecast, with the year-to-date numbers being driven by favourable expenditure results across all operating areas. It's also interesting to note that the graph of rate debtors reports a better outcome than last year, and this is often considered a generally good indicator of the state of the economy. Cash is holding strongly compared to the prior year, and capital expenditure is running favourably against the full year forecast, and we await with interest the results for the remaining 2 months. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Item C2.1, Assembly of Councillors. Councillor Bye.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I move that Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Council records for the period 24th of April 2018 to the 8th of May 2018.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hall. Is that motion opposed? The motion is not opposed. The motion is carried. Thank you. Item C2.2, Remuneration Committee minutes. Councillor Hall.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm going to move the Council note and receive the minutes from the Remuneration Committee meeting held on the 17th of April 2018 as attached. And 2, Council endorse the actions from the Remuneration Committee meeting held on the 17th of April 2018 as detailed in the attached minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Stevens. Is that motion opposed? The motion is not opposed. The motion is carried. Councillor Hall.
Just briefly, Madam Mayor. This committee meets quarterly to review all the expenses that councillors are involved with, whether by travel or remuneration and phones. And I'm pleased to say that the report again is a good one. We're one of the cheapest councils for expenditure per head of councillor. And when we look at under my council side and see what we're spending, the people are willing to know they're getting good value for their money.
Thank you for that self-appraisal there. Item C3.1, the March 2018 planning decisions. Councillor Marr.
I move that Council note the report on recent planning permit trends and planning application determinations between the 1st of March and 31st of March 2018.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hall. Is that motion opposed? The motion is not opposed. The motion is carried. Councillor Marr.
Just quickly, 44 planning decisions were made during this period of the 1st to 31st of March, and it was nice to see that the 10-lot subdivision at Hayfield has actually been passed, as well as various other subdivisions around the Shire, which is a very positive development, which means that people are happy to move to Wellington and to live here, and it's a very good thing indeed.
Thank you, Councillor Marr. Now we move to item C4, item C4.1, which is the application for revocation of unused road licence. Now, I do know that there's a couple of the gallery members who wish to speak to this item. So would Nola Hodge, would you like to come and approach the podium there? If you can clearly state your name for the recording. Yes. And you have 3 minutes for your case. Okay. And you're quite welcome to hand over your document to Chris, but I do believe we have a copy already. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Nola Hodge. I'm here in representation of Frank Hodge of Coongulla. Thank you for inviting me to come to oppose this unused road being opened. Mr Wootton was never sold this property with the access being intended to be through our operational farming area. We had an alternative access through other means that was sold off and closed by his own demise. After he bought this paddock, Sweeney's Track, former access Millers Road, that of which is explainable by the council why, as the adjoining landholder, I was never notified of these closures, leaving my property as a possible only option in the future for access. It appears Mr Wootton sold off his own access, therefore landlocking himself. Are these former roads being viewed as an opening option? The unused road is a part of a holding paddock attached to our yards and would cause unnecessary interruptions to our farming operations. Uninvited motorbike riders, 4x4 insurance, biosecurity signed acts enforced by the LPA, private insurances and liabilities, and that's aside the expense of having to move our yards from that area. The poachers' shooters are a constant battle. If this road is opened up, it gives them a legal sitting spot out of public sight in a dead-end road that has never ever been opened as a public road, giving them access straight into our farming area. The police are constantly facing a problem in that spot presently. People leaving accesses open to allow hay destruction. This is detrimental in these current conditions. Poachers leaving gates open to destroy a winter supply of hay, irreplaceable. Mr Wootton was offered a viable option for access but denied as it didn't suit his profiteering outcome, even though his option would have made a greater monetary and selling point for himself and all bodies involved to incur a less of out-of-pocket expense. The access to Mr Wootton's block due to climbing terrain and lack of proper track allows accidents to occur, damaging gates, fences, etc. Allowing unplanned stock access being crucial to farm security, etc. This has proven a problem in the past years. To have a part opening on presuming that the surveyor will have to resurvey and will discover that the entry to the unused road is in fact offline, which once rectified will only leave one entry for road adjustment, and taking into account the non-interference of semi-truck entry will prove to be an unnecessary expensive outcome. Thank you for the invitation to oppose this request. Myself and my daughter are open to any further discussions to make for a reasonable outcome for this proposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Nola. And just to reaffirm that you will be invited when the committee is formed for further submissions. Thank you. Is there any other wishing? Again, if you can just state your name.
Mayor and councillors, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Ray Wootton. I have submitted an appraisal of the situation to council, but that will come up, I presume, at the next committee meeting. I'd like to give a little bit of a historical background. My wife and I bought the Mount Bradley property in 1973, and at that stage the only access was from Millers Road, which was a round trip of about 25 kilometres from my home. So to take farming equipment and so forth that way was quite a business. Plus the fact that on the property about halfway up to Mount Bradley there was a rocky outcrop which necessitates four-wheel drive vehicular to get access to it. I noted that there was an unused road, and I approached Frank Hodge, Nola's father, to see if he would consider selling a portion of his land so that we would have access to Bradley from Ryan's Road, making a distance of only 2.5 kilometres rather than the long trek. And he agreed, and I had the land subdivided for him and purchased it. And for 40 years we have been using that as our only access. We haven't bothered using the Millers Road access because of its distance and also the need for four-wheel drive. And 18 years ago I was approached by Optus to see if I would lease them a small parcel of land for a telecommunication tower, which I did, and they've used the road for 18 years as their only access. In 2006, as you've been told, I consolidated, there were 7 titles on the property that I had. I consolidated them into four properties, with 2 accessing Millers Road and the other 2 accessing Ryan's Road. and I then subsequently sold off the back two because we just weren't using it. It was unproductive land. Since then, there has only been the one access. We have always been very careful to consider all grazing activities on the part of the Hodges, and there has never been any indication of a problem as far as they're concerned. The amount of land that's involved, by the way, to put it in perspective, is only a strip 120 metres, about 150 metres long by 20 metres wide, so it's less than a third of a hectare. And the fact that it has been used all that time, I think, indicates that it is no longer an unused road from our point of view. Not that I was wanting to upset that particular licence. In actual fact, after discussion with your representatives, I have consolidated those two blocks into one so that the possibility of a road having to be constructed there, sealed and open to the public, has gone forever. The only thing that will have to be done is a private road, gravel road, which can have a gate across it, so it will not interfere with the farming activities of the Hodges in any way whatsoever. This was precipitated, our concern was precipitated by, after a meeting with Nola and her father at my home, which was quite conciliatory, I thought. Within a couple of weeks, lock was put on the gate. I was denied access. Optus was denied access. And with DWELP consultation and also the Shire consultation and the police consultation, I finally cut the chain so that Optus could get in to do necessary maintenance on their tower, because they are an essential service. So my attitude is that we're quite happy to cooperate with the Hodges as much as possible. As I say, I've gone to the expense of consolidating the two blocks so that only the first section of Section 173 has to be implemented. The sealing will never have to be done, and I look forward to meeting with the council representatives that you appoint to consider this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wooden. Now, Councillor Ripper, are you ready for the item? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move, pursuant to Section 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to write to the licensee of the unused road licence of its intention to open a section of the unused government road east of Lot 2, PS 613367 for public traffic, and Council appoints 3 councillors plus an alternative. Councillor Crossley, Councillor Hole, Councillor Ripper, and the alternative is Councillor McCubbin. To the Unused Road Licence Committee, that is established by Council under Section 223(1)(bi) of the Act, to consider written submissions, objections, and to hear any persons who, in their written submissions under Section 223 of the Act, have been requested that they be heard in support of their submission objection. In the event that there are no objections or submissions, and pursuant to Section 407(1) of the Land Act 1958, and it is desirable in the public interest, the Department of Environment, Land, Water, Planning be requested that part of the unused road licence held over the unused government road east of Lot 2, PS 613367, Parish of Coongulla, be revoked as it is required for public traffic.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hole. Is that motion opposed? The motion is not opposed. The motion is carried. Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. Background. An unused road licence was issued approximately 1954. That was 1954. For use by the owner of Lot 2, PS 613367 for grazing purposes. Unused roads may be licensed or leased either on an annual, triannual or 99-year term and are issued by the Department of Environment, Land and Water, DELP. And they may be revoked fully or in part, or written request from council when required for public traffic. Now, the owner of the adjoining property, described as Lot 1 and 2, PS 610625, Parish of Coongulla, obtained a Wellington Shire Council planning permit, P567/2005, for a subdivision that was issued in 2006 that required future use of part of the unused government road covered by this unsealed road. Pursuant to Section 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, Council authorised the Chief Executive Officer to write to the licensee of the unused road licence of its intention to open a section of the unused government road east of Lot 2, PS 613367 for public traffic. Therefore, the Unused Road Licence Committee will work within the prescribed guidelines of the relevant Local Government Act.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. And as the objectors will be notified when that date is confirmed, and you'll be given opportunity to present to that committee as well, both written and in person. If you don't wish to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're quite welcome to leave now. I think it's probably the easiest way is through the doors and through the lift down.
Thank you very much.
At the back there. Thank you. Thank you for your attendance. Okay, moving on to item C5.1.
Mayor, so I think we need to redeclare our
Yes.
interest. So my interest is under section 78B as a indirect interest and a conflict of duty, and I'll withdraw.
Thank you.
My interest is regard to 77B, direct interest, and I shall also withdraw.
Thank you. So noted. Well, keep his voice down. Item C5.2, 5.1, Community Assistance Grants. Councillor Marr.
I move that Council adopt the recommendations to allocate community assistance grants, events and projects March 2018, funds as detailed in Attachment A, and that applicants be notified of the outcome of their applications.
Thank you. And seconded? Councillor Hall. Is that motion opposed? Motion not opposed. Motion is carried. Councillor Marr.
Not-for-profit groups are able to apply for these community assistance grants, and I must add that they are something that many of the community groups throughout the Shire fully appreciate and look forward to applying. The grants aim to build community capacity, promote participation and to support community initiatives, ultimately giving our community groups a level of people power. It allows them to come up with ideas and to promote those ideas when they're successful in obtaining a grant. And the applications are all assessed individually by a panel who look at all of the criteria, and the criteria covers a range of things, including benefit to community, whether the proposal meets and fulfills community needs, as well as project planning, and whether the community groups have the capacity to deliver what they are proposing to do. The successful applicants are detailed in Attachment A, and of those, there are 12 events and 3 project applications that are successful that amount to just over $60,000. Overall, at Attachment B, there were 17 event applications and 15 project applications that amounted to a lot more than this and much more than what the budget would allow for. But everyone is encouraged to continue applying and to work with Shire and to get feedback as to what has gone on with those unsuccessful applications. But we look forward to a lot of interesting and great events around the Shire, and everyone's actually encouraged to attend and support their local communities and the volunteers that are working really hard to make Wellington a place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rossetti. We'll just wait till our colleagues return. Returning?
G'day.
Moving on to item C5.2, the Cameron Sporting Complex detailed design tender. I believe we have a gallery member who would wish to speak to us. Yes. Welcome aboard, Pat. If you could just clearly state your name for the recording. Thank you very much.
My name is Pat Weatherly. I'm the Secretary of the Cameron Sporting Complex Committee, which is a Section 86 Committee of Council. Correct, Melbourne? Thank you. Is that correct? Oh, okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor, fellow councillors, CEO David, for inviting me here tonight. I'd just like to speak in favour of the motion that's put forward here to council this evening. The current tenants at the Cameron Sporting Complex consist of the Maffra Junior Football Club, Maffra Cricket Club, the Maffra Amateur Basketball Association, the Maffra Gymnastics Club and the Maffra Hockey Club. In relation to the actual stadium itself, the stadium tenants are currently the Maffra Gymnastics Club and the Basketball Association. The gymnastics current members at the moment stand at around 400 plus members with an extensive waiting list. They host large gymnastic tournaments, but as you've clearly heard now, have clearly outgrown the facility to such an extent where we need not only extra floor space to accommodate the gymnasts themselves, but to create some spectator seating with a view to us to allow some to host some major events such as Victorian titles, etc. The Basketball Association currently has 90 teams, that's 90 teams, and that is not including a junior development program which has a huge following at the moment. The junior basketballers at the moment play every night of the week, and it goes actually quite late on a Friday night as well, which, as you can well appreciate, under 10s and 12s playing on a Friday night at the end of the school week can be quite demanding, not only for themselves but for the parents, where we'd sooner be home watching the footy and perhaps having a nice refreshment on the couch. Not only that, at the moment there's no nights available for their squad training, so that for their development teams, so they have to arrange alternate nights or weekends, which is not only not exactly suitable, but it also, with a stadium extension and a third court, that'll allow us to host also large-scale tournaments, and of course our own CBL teams, which Maffra has a men's and women's team in the CBL competition. We have another user group that is very keen to join the Cameron Sporting Complex, which is the Maffra Volleyball Association, who plan to join us if the development goes ahead. They currently are playing volleyball at the Maffra Secondary College facility. They've clearly outgrown this facility as well, and in a very short space of time it's become a very popular sport in Maffra also. They've also achieved success at state level as well, and have also had state and national representatives from their association, so it's a credit to them how they've grown so quickly and what development they've made. A third basketball court will be designed also with netball in mind as well. So the committee will certainly be pushing to attract an indoor netball competition as well, and of course that has a healthy representation in Maffra through the actual football club as well, but plus they have representative teams over here coming to play in Sale on Saturday afternoons and of course during the week. So we hope to encourage them to come along and join us as well. Not only that, if the development does go ahead, which we sincerely hope so, we're looking at it's not only just from a sporting perspective, but from economic benefits for the town. Not only especially during the construction phase, where we hope that local trades will certainly be included in the construction process. And then, of course, once the development is completed, we're looking at attracting visitors to the facility, of course, where we can host major events. And, of course, that has a great economic impact on the town for our local businesses. We're well known in Maffra, of course, for our passion for sport, but it's not measured by success. We look at providing a safe and a healthy outlet for kids and adults alike. We want them to come and enjoy their sport in a quality facility and in a supervised environment. I can't emphasise enough, of course, of how important this project is to the town. We're not a town that goes cap in hand to council, and we generally get our own hands dirty when it comes to community projects. But of course this one requires significant funding. It requires something that it's far out of our reach as far as community funding goes. So we're certainly looking for council and of course state government and funding support there as well. I hope council can see clearly now the importance of this facility to the Maffra community, and I look forward to your favourable response. I need to be excused, of course, as I do now have to go to the Maffra community complex to pick up my son who's currently playing basketball at present. So thank you for your help tonight. Thank you. Cheers.
At least you had a warmer seat this time, Pat. Thank you. Councillor Hall, we have a mover of that motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to move the council receive the confidential tender evaluation report for the Cameron Sporting Complex Stadium redevelopment as detailed in the attached confidential report, and to note the progress of the Cameron Sporting Complex project, and 2, the information contained in the confidential document, item F1.1, Cameron Sporting Complex Stadium redevelopment, detailed design and specification, tender evaluation report of this council meeting be designated under section 77 clause 2C of the Local Government Act of 1989 as confidential by the Chief Executive Officer on the 7th of May 2018, because it relates to the following grounds under section 89.2 of the Local Government Act of 89, Part D, contractual matters, and be designated confidential information under section 77 clause 2B of the Local Government Act of 1989.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bly, is that motion opposed? The motion is carried. Have a good night. You got to speak? You ready?
I'm waiting for the
You ready?
I'm waiting for 16 years for this.
Thank you, Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, tonight is not letting the tender. Tonight is another stage along the progress of the development. And looking back 16 years ago when the gymnastics asked for an extension to their operating room, for want of a better word. I don't like calling it a gymnasium because that means you pump and power or whatever else they do. And they had 120 there, and they were using up all the facilities in room, and everybody's enjoying themselves. Because of their success and the quality of the tutors that they have, it's now 400 registered at the gymnastics, and there is a waiting list, as you heard Pat say. Along the way, the Basketball Association grew and grew. Here again, they've got some dedicated people over there that look after the junior kids right through to the adults. They get their squad teams, they take them away and give them the experience of competing around Victoria. And so they attracted more and more basketball players to the stage now. They've got 90 teams playing in the competition this year. The problem that arose was, first off, we had to get the concept of what was required into the master plan, the Cameron Sporting Complex master plan. Most of the sporting groups had their wishes of what they needed to turn their facilities into more modern and greater facilities, and everybody had to wait their turn. As we know, it's impossible to do everything for everybody on the same day. The big issue that came about was for the major extension that we know the government is not interested in funding one simple building. They're looking for multi-use, and this is where, as you heard Pat say in his speech, we now have the gymnastics, we have the basketball, the netball, who will be the first indoor netball court in the town. Also the volleyball, who are currently at the Nafra High School, and they have a strong competition, and the figure, I think, that three of their members have made the Victorian squad because of the dedication, and they are playing and training in less salubrious facilities than they deserve. So the thing is now, after this motion goes through tonight, is to have our officers continue to put together the funding, both state and federal. But I'd like to say congratulations to the people of Nafra. The basketball and the gymnastics people have committed $250,000 towards this project, and I think they've got to be highly commended. And I'm sure that the quality of our officers, who can find a pot of gold under a rock out somewhere, that hopefully we will get the money very shortly and go out to tender, and by June 2020 the new facility will be ready for operation.
Thank you, Councillor Hull. As you say, a huge commitment by the community and long awaited. Which brings us to urgent business, which we have none.
No online questions, Mayor.
No on for the chat room? No. Which brings us to any gallery comments. And if I just reiterate on the notice there that this is not a forum for members of the public to lodge complaints against individuals, including councillors or staff or anybody else for that matter, in particular as that individuals get no public right to reply to any matter raised. We take complaints seriously, and in line with the guidance from the Victorian Ombudsman and the Local Government Inspectorate, we request that any specific complaints against any individual be put in writing. This way your concern can be properly dealt with while ensuring fairness to all parties concerned. But it does give you the opportunity now, if you've got any specific items that you wish to raise, but just please remember that this is still being broadcasted live, and that anything you say will be recorded, and if you could please state your name, and you have 3 minutes. That's a mouthful. So if anybody wishing to add anything to this stage at the moment, please make yourself acknowledged. Yes? Alan Hall.
Alan Haywood Pearson.
Haywood, sorry. It's got too many H's around me. I beg your pardon.
Alan Haywood Pearsondale. Just in the interest of correct recording of council minutes, the Shire place a fair bit of importance on the live recording, so I feel as though the reference to my contribution last meeting possibly wasn't good enough. So the CEO's summary of my submission last meeting was that I had complaints about certain things, but I'd like to just read exactly what I put in for last meeting so that the records could be true and correct. In recent years, our Shire has removed a large number of car parking spaces in and around the central area of Sale. Many trees now occupy car spaces that we had. Shire employees have now taken car and bus parking and caravan parking in Disraeli Street. Also, parking at the rear of the new library has gone and been sown to grass. To aid access to the post office in York Street, can our Shire arrange to remove just 3 more spaces on the Princess Highway outside the CES and construct a left turning lane or a waiting lane for patrons of the post office? This will allow a better flow of through traffic on the highway. I remind the Shire councillors and the managers of our Shire that the amount of parking and access to the post office has been severely reduced since the complex was constructed. About 8 parks at the rear have gone, and constructed fences have prevented pedestrian side access to the post boxes. My question is, what is the Shire going to do? Now, as you know, that's the quote from last week. As you know, I've sort of spoken about this a few times, and one of the requests was that maybe the Shire could nominate a person in the Shire to take on board this issue and maybe look at all the. I've given a few suggestions, but I've been told that because it's a federal site, can't do anything. Well, there's got to be something that can be done. So rather than me keep putting suggestions forward, and there's another one in this, another one here, can't the Shire nominate someone to spend a few hours a week on this to see if we can find a solution for the problem? I regard it as a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, and I do believe you've received a letter to those questions on the 4th of May. So it was certainly sent, and I signed the letter. So if you haven't received it yet, it's in the mail. Thank you. If there's no further questions, I'll declare the meeting closed at 6:52, and also the live streaming will also close.